My name's Jill Davis. I am the director of the library. A couple of things. Please turn your cell phones off. The exit out of the building is the way you came in or in the back. And the restrooms are right outside this door. If it's occupied, there are more downstairs. Then the only other thing that I want to say is that for us here at the library, this is a new collaboration with Green Team and with Energize Cortlandt, and we are excited to be able to help them in their efforts to educate the public on projects and things that they can undertake to not only reduce costs, but reduce the effects that are occurring in the environment. So that's it for me.
Okay. So, on behalf of Linda Puglisi, the Cortlandt Town Board, and the Town of Cortlandt Green Team, which I'm the only member who's here right now, I want to thank you all for coming, and I also want to thank Jill for having us here today. And the Energize team, you're going to meet this fabulous team today. We've got all the VIPs here, so very exciting. And I'm Dana Glazer. For those of you who don't know me, my company, Green Team Spirit, has been working with the Town of Cortlandt since 2009. And working with them with all of their sustainability efforts. So basically the main effort for Cortlandt for the last 4 years has been on greening up the internal municipality, so really becoming much leaner organization and helping them to save money. So about a year ago, the town, which is part of an consortium called NWEAC, Northern Westchester Energy Action Consortium, we had grant money, and us along with 6 other towns did a greenhouse gas emissions inventory and a climate action plan for the town of Cortlandt. And what we learned was that transportation is the #1 emitter of greenhouse gases, and #2 is our residential home emissions from our homes. So basically, this is a fantastic opportunity for you as the homeowner, but this is also a fantastic opportunity for the town of Cortlandt, because if we all collaborate and start doing this work, we're going to reduce emissions across the town, which is a really great thing. So I think that pretty much covers it for me, and I'm going to hand it off to Tom Bregman, who's the head of this program.
Hi, my name is Tom Bregman. I am Director of Energize. Welcome today. Energize is a municipal benefit nonprofit that provides education and support to Westchester homeowners to make their homes more energy efficient through Nyserda's, New York State's Home Performance with Energy Star program, and we are sponsored by and a partner with the town of Cortlandt. What you should expect today in the next hour or so is that you're going to hear from residential energy efficiency experts and alternative energy experts who are all local to our area. They're Westchester-based or Northern Westchester-based. And you're going to learn about ways to reduce energy waste in your home, and also how you might produce energy from your home through alternative means. So you might ask, why does that matter? Well, from the energy efficiency standpoint, and the energy efficiency side, if you've not upgraded your home to make it energy efficient, you're wasting somewhere between 20 and 40% of all the energy that you use through air leaks, through inadequate or insufficient insulation, through inefficient boilers or furnaces. And this waste, this 20 to 40% waste, actually translates into dollars and translates into greenhouse gas emissions that are unnecessary. Northern Westchester, which is the area that we cover, has about 60,000 1- to 4-family homes. And if we were able to make them more efficient by upgrading them through the Home Performance Program, just a 20% savings would result in about 3.5 million gallons of fuel oil that wouldn't be burned each year, and about 400 million cubic feet of natural gas. Some of the homes are heated by natural gas. Some of the homes in Northern Westchester are heated by fuel oil. Now that's kind of hard to conceptualize. It's many millions of dollars in savings, but if we were able to do that, it would be the equivalent of taking about 25,000 cars off the road. So just by the efficiency work alone would equal that. Now, Annually, right, every year, 25,000 cars continuously. So I know you're going to have questions today, and what I would ask you to do is just to hold them while we're doing these first couple of presentations. We're going to have a panel of experts, energy efficiency and alternative energy contractors, and that's going to be really valuable. It'll be an opportunity for you to ask your specific questions, and I think we have some pieces of paper here if you want to make notes with your questions. Hold your questions until then. You can write them down, you can hand them in, or you can ask them, just remember. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce Alyssa Roth, who is our Director of, right? Not so?
The video or not? It doesn't matter.
Okay.
Yeah, no.
Are we going to start with the video? All right. So,
Start with Alyssa.
okay, we'll start with Alyssa, and then we're going to have a very short video. Alyssa's our Director of Education and Support, and she's going to let you know everything you need to know about the Energize program. And Alyssa, if you want to start with the video.
I don't think are we playing video?
Nope.
Okay,
We played the video.
So,
Maybe
gotcha.
somebody saw it.
so it'll be Alyssa.
The sound's
Alyssa,
not quite loud enough.
take it away.
Alyssa's much louder than the
Hi everyone. My name is Alyssa Roth. I'm the Energy Education and Support Director for Energize New York. So I'm actually going to be talking about two things today. I'm going to be covering how Energize New York works and what this program is, and then I'm going to talk a little more in depth about what an energy assessment is and what happens during the technical aspects of an energy assessment or energy audit. So before I get into all that, I just want to define what Nyserda is, because you're going to hear that come up a lot. Nyserda is the New York State Energy Research and Development Authority, and they were developed in 1975 as a public benefit corporation, and they're funded by something called the Systems Benefit Charge. And why that's important to know is because that means they're not funded by taxes. So you can claim two incentives without double dipping. You get a tax incentive and a tax credit after making energy upgrades, and you also get an incentive from Nyserda through the Systems Benefit Charge funding. So they are the administrator of the program I'm going to be talking about. And the program is called Home Performance with Energy Star. It's a kind of a long name, but it really just means Nyserda's energy audit program for residential homes. We kind of stopped using the term audit a while ago because people got scared that they might get in trouble for something, and you cannot possibly get in trouble for anything at all by getting an energy assessment. So if you hear someone say energy audit, it means the same exact thing, but we just don't use that word anymore. So what is Home Performance with Energy Star? These are the steps for going through the program. First, you get an energy assessment. Nyserda's Home Performance with Energy Star program provides the most comprehensive assessments that are available in the market today in New York State. They're performed by BPI certified contractors, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about what that means later, but BPI stands for the Building Performance Institute, and all of the contractors that do these assessments have gone through extensive exams and certification work, accreditation work, testing to participate in this program. Home Performance with Energy Star also offers financing for your energy upgrades and incentives, and there's an option for quality assurance testing if at any point along the way you want to have someone oversee the process. So the 5 steps for going through the program is to submit an application, find a contractor to do the assessment, get the assessment, apply for your financing, and then move forward with your energy upgrades. So we, as Energize New York, help you through each of these 5 steps. Because although I kind of made it sound pretty straightforward, and on paper it should be really easy, it is a state program, and it can be bureaucratic, and you are dealing with a lot of different entities, the contractor and Nyserda and financing. So the reason we're here is any step in the process where you get confused or you get held up, you can call us and we will fix it. That's why we're here. And we also help you move through the whole thing. So this is just about where our funding comes from, why we're here. We've also implemented several tools in addition to what Nyserda offers to help you go through the process. So we've got a contractor rating index. Nyserda offers about 70 contractors that are serving Westchester County to do these assessments and do the upgrade work. We've looked at that list, conducted homeowner surveys about satisfaction with these contractors, figured out which contractors perform the most work in this area and who's got the most accreditations. And we've narrowed that list of 70 down to 11. And that's on our website. That's called the Contractor Rating Index. And you can find any one of those contractors. We've got 3 here today. We've got 4 here today. You can find a contractor profile on any of them, all their contact information, and that's one thing we offer. We also offer an energy coach. So after you get the energy assessment, you'll get a report back from your contractor. And in looking through that report, you might have questions. You might want to ask somebody about cost effectiveness and about the thoroughness of this assessment. You might want to ask somebody that's not the guy that did the assessment. So we offer an energy coach who will come to your house for 1 hour for free and sit down with you and go through that report and answer any questions you have, look around your house, and make sure that everything looks good. We also are in the office 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, to answer any questions you have by phone. You can walk in. And another thing Energize New York does is work with town leadership, like Danny, to bring this kind of information to the public. So really quickly, I'm going to go through those 5 steps that I talked about so you can understand more in depth how to actually get an energy assessment and upgrade. The first step is to fill out the application. Energize New York is the only entity in New York State that has made this accessible online. So it's really easy to do the whole thing right from your computer. It's energizecortland.org, and you click on sign up. This is what you'll see when you go to energizecortland.org. You click on sign up and enter your address and your phone number, your basic information, and once you press submit, it will bring you right to the application for the energy assessment. If you have any questions about filling that out, you can call us at the office and we can help you through it. So once you have the application submitted, now it's time to find a contractor. I mentioned BPI before, and I mentioned our Contractor Rating Index, but the thing that's important to know about BPI is they're not run by Nyserda. They're a national independent entity that accredits contractors in energy efficiency work. So technically, every contractor that has been certified by BPI should give you the exact same assessment, regardless of who you pick. And we also have suggested interview questions for you to ask the contractors before hiring. We think it's really important for you to pick the same contractor to do the assessment as the contractor you want to move forward with for the work. So it's important to interview your contractors before you pick someone and find someone that you think is a good match for your home. So now you've picked your contractor and it's time to get the actual comprehensive assessment. Here are a couple of details about it. New York State passed legislation 3 years ago to make this assessment free for any household that has an annual income of less than $215,800. Typically, they used to cost between $400 and $800 in Westchester County, depending on the size of your home and how many heating systems you have. Now it's free for almost everybody. And if you make between $215,000 and $431,000, it's on a sliding scale. The most it will cost you is $250. Nyserda subsidizes the rest of the contractor. So the contractor's still getting paid. You're just not the one that has to pay them. So there's not a decrease in the value of the service that you're getting. And what is the assessment? It's 3 hours of diagnostic testing, and they look for more than just energy efficiency measures. They look for health and safety, air leakage and heat loss, and also they look at your combustion equipment. It usually takes about 3 hours, 2 to 4 hours, for them to look at every single inch of your home. They're not walking in there with a clipboard just doing a visual inspection. They're scientific diagnostic tools, and they really assess your whole home. And after they get all that information from the assessment, they go back to their office and input it into a software system that generates this report to give you. So when you get an assessment, it's more than what you see. There's also background that goes on, and this report is delivered to you. Now, if you choose, you can end the process here, and there's no obligation to move forward once you've had an energy assessment. But of course, we hope that you'll move forward and get some energy upgrades in your home, because that's the way you're really going to save energy and save money. So there are some options to help you get the energy upgrade. There are 2 loan products. They both have 3.49% locked-in interest rate. I want to talk a little more in detail about Anvil Financing. This is a new way of thinking about financing your energy upgrades. It's a little complicated, so if you have a question about how I'm describing it, that's okay, you can ask me. But the gist of it is that you pay for your energy upgrade through the money you're already saving from it. So you implement an energy upgrade, and now you're saving money on your energy bills, and that's the money that goes to paying this off. So technically, you don't feel any difference in how much money you're paying every month on your bills. The payback period is calculated by dividing the total amount that you were paying before by 12, so you have an estimated monthly bill, and then that's adjusted so your payback is congruent to that. And it is transferable if you ever move. So the reason there's a Convective bill here is because you don't take out a separate loan. It actually shows up as a line item on your utility bill. So you just keep paying your utility bill like you were before, but the extra money is now going to pay off your energy upgrade. And if you do move, the bill is transferable, the loan is transferable to the new homeowner. So once you apply for financing and get approved, now you can move forward with the upgrades. This is a picture of Norm, who's not here today, but he is our energy coach. And he's the guy that will come and sit down with you to go over your report and answer any questions about what makes the most sense to upgrade in your home. And this is a picture here of blown-in insulation, one of the suggested measures that can be done. Construction usually takes less than 1 week. And one really cool aspect of the home performance program is every contractor is required to do a test out before they sign a certificate of completion. So they have to do those same tests they did in the beginning, that energy assessment, to make sure they achieve the numbers they said they were going to achieve. And if they don't, they have to fix it for free. And if you still feel anything is fishy in the whole process, you can request a quality assurance visit. We can arrange that for you, and a third party, I guess a fourth party, who's not Norm, Honeywell International, does quality assurance testing for Nyserda, and they'll come in and check everything as well. Yeah, so that's the administrative side of how the program works. Does anyone have any questions?
We're going to have questions after, at the end when we have the panel, if we can.
Okay.
Just so we just
So
keep
should I
moving,
just
'cause
go
we still
into
have-
Norm's?
We'll go into that. Your questions are really valuable, and we want to order them, so take a look at if you want to submit your questions, and we'll get them handled first. But we've got, I bet that some of your questions will be answered in her next part and in Lee's next part. So if you can just hold off for a few minutes.
Should I just go right in?
Yep, go ahead.
Okay.
And
So-
should we say why you're doing everything?
Right, so Norm, our energy coach, was supposed to be here today to do this, but he is stuck in Chicago because his flight was delayed, so I'm going to jump in. So if anything I say isn't clear, please just ask me and I'll try to clarify it. Okay, so this presentation is more about the technical aspect of what happens during an energy assessment rather than how the program overall works. So Home Performance with Energy Star is the name of the program, like I said before, and Energy Star is a label that was established by DOE and EPA in the 1970s. So it's a label that can go onto any brand. It's not a brand. So basically, Energy Star has endorsed the home performance program, saying just like certain dishwashers and certain TVs live up to our standards, this energy assessment lives up to our standards too. So they've endorsed this. And it's about more than just energy efficiency. They're going to look at all of these things. Comfort in the home, if any of your rooms are always cold or any of your rooms are always hot or damp or moist, this is, some of the issues that they'll look at. Indoor air quality, to make sure that your combustion equipment is functioning properly. Health and safety measures, like carbon monoxide, hopefully, is not in your house or any other dangerous gases. And then, of course, energy efficiency. I was talking before about how it's not just a walkthrough with a clipboard. They're doing scientific diagnostic testing on your home. And they use something called building science. And building science is used to look at the whole house, what we call the whole house approach, and how all the different systems in the house function with each other. And using building science, they can diagnose the problems in your specific home. So just because you've got a raised ranch and your neighbor has a raised ranch doesn't mean replacing a boiler is going to fix both of your problems, or insulating the attic is going to fix both of your problems. Every home functions differently, and using building science, we can diagnose how to fix your specific problems. I think I pretty much covered everything I wanted to say about this in the last presentation, but I can just say that Building Performance Institute sets the standard nationally for energy efficiency testing and energy efficiency upgrades. So everyone that has gone through BPI is going to give you the same testing on your home in depth, whether they focus on HVAC or whether they focus on shell and envelope, you're going to get the same assessment. So what is building science? How does it matter? Basically what we've learned through time is that your house is not just a heated box. There's lots of different aspects that affect the way you feel comfort. So there's systems interacting with each other, and they change the temperature, they change the humidity, they affect the air movement, and they affect the radiant exposure. And all of these different things affect how we feel in the home. So one thing that we hear all the time is that my house is drafty, so I know I need new windows, or something along those lines. And what we've learned through building science is just because you feel a draft doesn't necessarily mean it's coming from outside. There could be air movement within your home and you feel a draft, and something else needs to be fixed, not the windows, to address that situation. So we look at all these different ways that affect your comfort. And there's two main systems in the home that interact with each other. There's the building envelope, which is the insulation and the shell of the home, and there's the mechanical systems, and that's your whatever's heating your home, appliances, and lighting. And these are the two main systems that we can alter and change to affect your comfort, affect your energy savings, affect your dollar savings. But all of these different things affect how your home functions and how the house as a system functions. So all of the professionals that are trained to do an energy assessment look at both of these. So that means if you were to just call in an insulation guy and say, I know I need new insulation, so let's seal up the home. And he doesn't know anything about mechanicals, and he seals up your home really tight, does exactly what he was supposed to do, and now you've got a terrible mold problem in your home because he didn't look at anything else except insulation. That's a problem, and that's what this program addresses. Everyone's going to look at both of these sides. And in a worst case scenario, let's say he seals up the home really tight and you've got a carbon monoxide problem that you never knew about because your home was so drafty it never affected you before, and now you're dead. So we really make sure to look at right to these sides. It happens. It's awful.
It has happened.
It has happened. They call carbon monoxide the silent killer. I know Anthony is going to want to talk more about that because you can't smell it, you can't see it, you can't taste it, you have no idea it's there, and people lose their lives. Okay, so this is a classic example of the mechanical systems and the insulation systems, a malfunction in how they're working together. And it's ice dams. Everyone has seen these before. A lot of people say, okay, I need a new roof. That's a problem in my roof. Really, it is a problem with insulation. And if you have a contractor that doesn't look at how the heat is flowing through your home and how the ventilation is working and just seals it up right here, well, you've got moisture that's actually leaking into your home, and now it could rot your roof out. And that's not good. So we need somebody that's going to look at how both of these things interact together. So this is a diagram of the most common places that heat escapes and cold air comes into your house. And every contractor that does an assessment is going to look at these things. So these right here are showing recessed lighting in your home. Recessed lighting are basically just holes in your ceiling leading to your attic for all the heat to just escape out. So they're going to definitely look at those areas. And then here we've got different areas in the what is this room called? Laundry room. Laundry room. These units, to be safe, need to be vented to the outside. That's how we make sure we don't have carbon monoxide coming back into the home. But since they're vented to the outside, we have to make sure that outside air isn't coming back in as well. This is an unconditioned crawl space. So basically, at the end of the day, we want to make sure that this area here is sealed off. This is called the conditioned space in your home. And you're only paying to heat this. You don't need to be paying to heat this area and this nice big area around the house. That's all money that's being wasted. It's energy that's being wasted. So we want to confine all of your money being spent to this little area right there. Okay, so what actually happens during an assessment? There are three main diagnostic tests that every single energy assessment uses. The first one is called a blower door test. This is used to calculate how much air is leaking out of your home, basically. The way it works is this is a front door, someone's front door. This is the door open over here. And you go through the house and you close every window and every door and every fireplace and everywhere air is supposed to go out. So we seal it up as much as we can. And then this is a tarp that we attach to the inside of the door, and this is a fan. And the fan spins backwards and pulls air out of the house to depressurize the house. And by doing that, we can measure the pressure inside the house versus the pressure outside the house and calculate how much air is moving through the house. It's called CFM. It stands for cubic feet per meter. Minute. And we can get a number, a CFM number, of how much air is moving through your house, and then we can identify the number we want to reduce that by and seal up your house by. So we have a goal that we're trying to reach, and that's the number that needs to be attained in the test out when we do this after the upgrades. This over here is called a manometer, and it's gathering all of the data of the CFM that's being blown throughout the house. And that's the information that gets input into the report you're going to get. So this is where this is hooked up to his laptop, and everything's being collected there. So when he puts together a treat report to send you, he'll have the scientific information there. So this is a picture that shows infrared thermal imaging. Not every energy assessment uses that, and you can still get a good energy assessment without using a camera like this, but this is just a good tangible way to show what's happening inside your house. So if you were to just shoot an infrared camera at the house here from the outside, you would see, okay, it's red here, there's a leak in insulation, there's problems here, we need to seal this up. But if you were to run an infrared camera during that blower door test when all the air is moving throughout the house, we can actually see air moving within the walls. And that's why it's valuable to us, so we can diagnose problems that aren't visible to the naked eye. Okay, so this is the other side of the systems we were talking about. This is the mechanical side. The contractor is going to look and check for something called backdrafting, which, well, let me back up. Every time you burn fuel, there are two byproducts. There's carbon dioxide and there's water. And if there's something going wrong in this process, a possible side effect is carbon monoxide, and that's a problem. So every single contractor checks for carbon monoxide. We also want to check that if there is carbon monoxide, it's not being backdrafted into the home, and no other gases are being backdrafted into the home, which means it's being sucked back into the home by negative pressure being created by many various possibilities, a stove fan, an oven fan, anything like that. Any questions about that?
We'll get to this too. We've got some other people to answer these questions.
Okay, so we've had the assessment, we've identified all these different problems. Now what are we going to do about it? There's two main upgrades that you're going to get recommended. There's insulation. And insulation has come a long way since the pink fiberglass that everybody is aware of and has in their attics. There's something called cellulose, which is a mixture of blue jeans and newspapers. It's treated with boric acid, which is a fire retardant, so it's 100% safe. And this is a picture of them actually blowing it into the walls from the outside of the home. So there do not need to do major construction on your home anymore to upgrade insulation. You don't have to rip down walls. And our number one recommendation, of course, is to not use your attic for storage space and to insulate as much as you can in the attic. But if you have to have that storage space and you can't give it up, there are options to do a piece of the attic and still have access to using it for storage. Air sealing goes hand in hand with insulation. So this is a picture of the air sealing after. This is before. This is called the rim joist, or this is actually a ceiling joist. It's where the ceiling actually meets the house. And that we need to make sure that that's air sealed, because if you have insulation without air sealing, the air can still blow in and out. So a good example of how that works is if you're outside on a cold day and you have a sweater on, you'll feel nice and warm until the wind starts to blow. And then all of a sudden that sweater isn't really being effective. But if you've got a nice shirt on outside that sweater, underneath that sweater, air sealing, and then the insulation, you'll feel nice and warm. So So that's just kind of an analogy for how this is working. So we want to make sure every single hole in your home that we can access is sealed up before we go through and put the insulation in. When it comes to heating equipment, there's lots of upgrades that can be made. A lot of times we find that once the home is sealed up and insulated, you no longer need the heating system you have because it's oversized. So you can actually purchase something smaller. And that's going to save you money two ways. You can buy something smaller than you were planning on buying. You're going to save money in the operating costs, but you're also going to save money in how much fuel you have to buy. Because now you no longer have to fill up that huge oil tank you had before, or use as much natural gas as you were using before. So that's one of the major upgrades that's recommended. And then other improvements can be any one of these things listed here. Something that every single dingle home can benefit from is a programmable thermostat. It's really easy to control the temperature at night, during the day. You never have to think about it. You can set it. It's a cheap, low-hanging fruit type of thing to do, which you'll find out from your energy assessment how much that would cost for you. So, why haven't I mentioned windows? Why aren't windows an eligible upgrade? Windows are not as cost-effective as any other measure that you can do in the home. R value is something we use to describe the resistance of airflow. So a typical window has an R value of about 1 or 2. The best windows on the market have an R value of 3.5. And a typical wall, an exterior wall, has an R value of 12. So no matter how good that window is, it's always going to be cold in front of the window. An insulated attic, if we insulate it as much as we possibly can, you can get an R value of 40. So windows are a good upgrade for aesthetic purposes. If you don't like the way that they look, definitely you can change them out. But as far as energy efficiency, windows don't make the most sense. Another reason you feel cold in front of the windows is something I talked about before, which is air moving within the home. This is a picture of something called a convective loop. And basically, it's a very simple principle that everyone knows, which is that heat rises. So let's say it's a cold day outside and you're heating your home and you're in front of a window. The heat is rising in your home, so all the air, the hot air is going up, and cold air is coming in through it's not coming in through the window. The air in front of the window is always going to be cold. So that air is coming in, and then it gets to the middle of the room, and it's heated, and it goes up, and it's creating this thing called a convective loop. So you feel a draft, and you feel air movement, but it's not actually a draft coming in from outside. It's going to happen in front of every window. So these are things we've learned through building science, and these are the reasons it's not always cost effective to make that upgrade. So really quickly, a simple payback is cost divided by annual savings. So let's just say we want to replace windows for $4,500. Your cost savings is going to be about $186 a year. That means it will take you 24 years to pay back those windows. Now let's say we have suggested measure of insulation for $1,800. Cost savings a year would be around $400, and you'll pay back that insulation in 4.5 years. So you can't see it, but you've made a big improvement in the value of your home, the wealth of your home, and your comfort in that home. And I love cats. So, you've had your energy assessment, now what? You can review it with the energy coach. I've talked about how he can make you feel comfortable and let you know that he's a third party looking at this with no bias towards anything. So you can ask him freely any questions you have. Do a financial analysis on what makes sense to move forward with. On most work scopes, there are several packages that will be offered. So you'll get this report, and it will say package 1, 2, and 3. And 1 is, a modest upgrade that you can make to your home, and package 3 is every single thing you could possibly do, overhaul, to upgrade your home. And you can pick and choose which measures you want to do, what makes sense. There's no obligation to do anything, but meeting with the energy coach, he can help you pick out what makes the most sense for you. It's important to know your budget and stick to it, and take into account incentives and financing, which could put you over what you thought you could do. But in the end, final decision is up to you. I think that's it.
That said, we do have sign-up forms here if you guys want to pass them around for people who are just want to say they're interested in talking and looking at the energy efficiency upgrade process. If you want to pass this around, there's some you pass it around or sign up there. So we just ask for some information, and then you'll get an email from us. And after, in a minute, we'll hear from Lee, who's going to talk about some solar options for here, and then you guys will have a chance to ask those questions I saw some of you writing, and both to us, and I'm going to ask contractors who are out in the field doing that work to come up in about 10 minutes from now. Thank you. Great pinch hitting. Lee, you want to talk to us about solar? We'll try to get you guys so that we'll try to keep moving so that you can get to all your questions and have a chance to talk to contractors in the room and to any of us about any of the programs and tell us about your experiences too. I do have one announcement to make. We will be coordinating an effort to help people when you do applications for any of the Nyserda programs. You have to gather utility data and go through some paperwork that sometimes proves confusing to people. So the area libraries, Jill, we're going to start having application assistance hours at all the area libraries: Peekskill, Cortlandt, Croton, and Ossining. Right, those are the ones that we're going to be having application assistance that soon. Take it away, Lee.
Okay. Hello, everybody. My name is Lee Streisfeld-Leitner, and I am actually a Croton on Hudson resident. I do want to mention before I start talking about solar that I serve on the Sustainability Committee in Croton on Hudson, and we just started rolling out Energize Croton there, which we're very pleased to get started. And I just had the work done on my house through the Energize program. I had some blown-in cellulose, some foaming of ribbon joists, and some insulation on the floors of above some unheated crawl spaces. So in October, November, I'll start finding out how much I'm saving, but I'm confident it's going to work. And I also want to mention there's a young woman in the back row who's going to be studying environmental engineering in college next year, and she rocks. So always glad to hear that. So I work with Sunrise Solar Solutions, which is in Briarcliff. I personally have been in the solar industry for about 8.5 years, and with Sunrise Solar for about 9 months now, and I'm very happy with them. But let me talk a little bit about solar and what it does for you. A common misconception is that solar just doesn't work around here, that this isn't, Arizona or Saudi Arabia, and we just don't get enough sun. Germany is actually the world leader in the installation of solar. They have more solar, a larger percentage of their electricity produced from solar than any other place in the world. The brightest spot in Germany has less sun than Seattle, which is not exactly, the sunshine city of the United States. So we have plenty of sun around here. And the important thing, which I'll talk about in more detail, is when it comes to whether or not solar is going to work, certainly more sun is always a good thing, but it also has to do with the economics, which has to do with what kind of subsidies are available and how much do you pay for your electricity to begin with. And most of us are Con Ed customers, and we pay plenty for electricity. So we'll talk about the economics in a second. There are two major technologies for solar that are done on homes and businesses. There are a couple of other more esoteric things I want to talk about. But typically you're talking solar thermal, which is taking that sun's energy and converting it into heat. And that's typically used for domestic hot water. It's also used for something called process heat in industry. It can be used for space heat, but it's not economical, and we won't talk about that. Put very simply, it'll produce most of the heat in the summer when you don't need it. And until someone invents a way to store heat for 6 months, solar for space heat is really not an economical thing to do. The other type of solar is solar photovoltaic, which is solar electricity. We just call it PV for short. And there are two basic types of solar panels. There are thin film and silicon-based, which is usually called crystalline. And that's primarily what we're going to talk about. The solar panels that you've probably seen in some houses around Westchester and so on, those are all crystalline silicon solar. So what do solar panels do? That's not actually supposed to be 2 panels. That would be whole bunches of panels. But they're going to convert that power, that energy from the sun, into electricity, but they convert it into direct current, or DC, which is the same as what you get out of a battery, your copper topper or whatever. our homes don't use DC power, we use AC, or alternating current. So all of that power is going to go to a device called an inverter. I used to remember why it's not called a converter, but so it is. So it converts that DC power into AC, and that AC power is then fed into your utility, your main service panel or your circuit breaker panel. That power that you're generating on the roof, some people have this misconception that we're going to try to send it to run the refrigerator or to run the air conditioning. It's just like the power coming in from Connect. It just goes into your main service panel and spreads out to wherever it's needed. Now, the one thing that makes this work for residential solar in particular is it's a bright, sunny day outside, and yet here we are, not at home using power. The truth is, most homes, no one's home during the day. So those bright, sunny afternoons where you're generating all of this solar electricity that you don't need, that power will then flow automatically out of your house onto Con Ed's wires. You're going to help to power the whole neighborhood, and your meter will effectively run backwards, and you'll be subtracting from your debt to Con Ed as that spins backwards. At the end of the day, the sun goes down, it'll slow down and stop, you come and turn things on, it'll start going forwards again, and now you're racking up dollars with Con Ed. But this is happening every single day. And at the end of the month, they just come and do a meter reading, they subtract that from the previous month's reading, and then you just pay for the difference. If you happen to go away for a couple of weeks that month, and over the course of that billing period, you end up generating more electricity than you actually needed, you'll get a full credit, and that will carry forward against your next bill. And all of that credit is for the full retail cost. All right, so the law in New York State and about 35, 40 other states that requires the utilities to pay you for your excess electricity, that's called net metering law. So there's also a misconception that your house has to be facing exactly south. It is true that facing exactly south is ideal for solar. The sun is strongest right at solar noon when it's at that highest point of the sky. And if we're facing directly at that strongest moment, that's when we're going to get the best production. But that being said, anywhere from due east to due west is fine. On a typical roof of, maybe a 30, 35 degree roof, if you're facing due east or due west, you're still going to be getting about 85% as much sun as a perfectly south-facing roof. If you're facing southeast or southwest, you'll be getting something like 92%, 93%. Quite honestly, in our area, our biggest enemy is trees, and I don't mean to sound adversarial to trees, because I love trees, but the biggest problem we have in finding a house that is appropriate for solar is it shaded too much, not so much the direction it's facing. Why do people do solar? They do it for social and societal reasons. They want to be green, they hate the utility company, they want to help move the country towards energy independence, they want to reduce carbon in the atmosphere. And then most people want to do it for economic reasons. Even the people who are most environmental about it, the economics have to make some sense, or they're probably not going to do it, even if they're the greenest person around. There are a number of different subsidies that are available for solar. There's a federal tax credit, a state tax credit. Different parts of New York and the tri-state area have utilities incentives. We have, essentially it's a utilities incentive, but it's funneled through this group called Nyserda that Alyssa was talking about before. So we'll talk about what those numbers look like and how all of that works. This tells you about the federal incentive, and I'm going to talk about that in more detail. State incentive, okay, the ITC, that's the investment tax credit, and then we have the Nyserda. Nyserda tax credit just went down 2 weeks ago, by the way, but not by very much. So it's still, the economics are pretty much just as good as they were prior to that. So I had to talk about a typical system. Let's say that someone put in a 6,000 watt system. That's assuming we found the right amount of roof space to use, that we looked at your Con Ed bills and said this is a good size system for you, it's not producing more electricity than what you actually use. So that 6,000 watt system might cost about $30,000. Now, that's quite a big chunk of change. However, what makes it a little less painful initially is that Nyserda gives you a rebate of $1.40 per watt. So that's $1.40 times 6,000 watts, or $8,400. It's a little bit misleading that they decided to call it a rebate, because most of us think of a rebate as something where you send in some box tops and wait 6 to 8 weeks to get a little check back in the mail. That rebate is actually paid directly to us as the contractor, and we remove that from your contract costs right off the top. So for this particular size system, you would be coming up with somewhere around that. I should mention these are very ballpark costs, and I'm being a little conservative. Some houses will be a little, could be considerably less, some a little more, but that's a good number to use. So that's your total cost to the contractor for this particular size system. You're going to get $9,000 back in a federal investment tax credit. The tax credit is 30% of the gross. There's a little bit debate about that, but the tax guidance from the Solar Energy Industry Association is very clear, as is the written language in the tax law and on the IRS instructions. So that's $9,000 back from the federal government. The state investment tax credit is capped at $5,000. So in this particular case, it would be 25% of the net, but it's capped at $5,000. So that's the total you would get back from New York State. So at the end of the day, you will have a net out-of-pocket cost of only $7,600 for what otherwise would have been a $30,000 expense. So literally 75% of the cost is subsidized. I do want to mention that these investment tax credits, they're not deductions. They're dollar-for-dollar credits. If you were going to owe the federal government, $10,000 in taxes at the end of the year, now you owe them $1,000. If you were going to get, a refund of $1,000, now you're going to get a refund of $10,000. So those are dollar-for-dollar credits. Now this particular 6,000 watt system in our region on a good, fairly sunny roof is going to produce probably somewhere in the neighborhood of $1,800 worth of Con Ed electricity in an average year. It's going to pay for itself in about 4.5 years. That's essentially, you're getting roughly the equivalent of a 20% rate of return on that investment, which is probably better than your savings accounts, certainly better than my savings account. And that's tax-free, because your return on investment is really just in the form of savings on your Con Ed bill. It's not actually taxable interest income. So as far as an investment, it's probably one of the best things you could do. And I should say that's not only true for solar, but that's also true for most of these types of energy improvements that you could make, like the insulation and so on. When the example that was given before of blown-in cellulose also showed a 4.5-year payback, well, that's also then giving about a 20% tax-free rate of return. And I should mention, over a 25-year system life, that's going to be saving you probably about $65,000 that you otherwise would have been paying to Con Ed. Because, there's no two ways around it. You're going to be paying somebody for that electricity. We're just suggesting that if you pay for solar up front, in the end, you do much, much better than just buying it continuously from the utility. This is some pictures of some systems we've done. The top left one is in White Plains. I actually don't remember where the other two are, but they're all Westchester systems. And we do the whole Hudson Valley pretty much. Those are a couple of larger commercial systems. The one in bottom left is in Peekskill. That one's Middletown. That one's upstate a little bit, but I forget the name of the town. We still saving questions? Keep on
Yeah,
going?
we're going to take questions.
Okay. So do people have questions for?
Well, we're going to ask questions for all you guys.
Okay.
All you guys, right? So
Yeah.
how to contact you?
Yeah. So there you go. Thank you. No, yeah, we're fine power.
On the front.
On the front, okay.
Conventional, but not that. So, Anthony, and so we have a number of different contractors, energy efficiency and solar contractors. I usually have another solar contractor wasn't able to make it today, unfortunately. I like to have several here for people to ask questions to. But Lee is an expert, has been in the field a long time. We've got a number of different energy efficiency contractors here that have been in the business. Some of them do more insulating and air sealing. Some do know more about mechanical systems like furnaces and hot water heaters, and if you guys, and Andrew, if you guys want to just come stand up here, Bob, if you guys want to come kind of line up here, and I'll start asking you, I'll get the questions going, and then I think I saw some people writing. By the way, I'm Heather Florno, I'm the Community Outreach Director for Energize New York, and I also chair the Lewisboro Sustainability Committee on the other side of Westchester. And